Hi, this is Adam Bragg from the Cisco Defense Orchestrator team. This is a short demonstration of a few of the features that CDO customers are using on a day-to-day basis to become more efficient and effective firewall engineers. This is the CDO UI. Once you've logged in, you'll notice that you have lots of visibility into your devices. So here we're able to show you the hardware versions, software versions that are running on your different ASAs that are deployed in your environment. One huge time saver that CDO offers is the ability to do image upgrades right from the CDO UI. So for instance, if I know that I need to upgrade all my devices that are running 9.8.2.14 software, I could just click on the filter. This filter is live, so it's always showing active configurations running on your current devices. So I'm going to upgrade Minneapolis. Minneapolis happens to be a high availability pair. So although you only onboard the primary device in CDO, we're aware of both the primary and the secondary, and we handle both of that during the upgrade process. So you can see here, it's primary and it's active, and the secondary is in a standby state. To upgrade, all I need to do is click on the upgrade button. CDO has a repository which you can pick from to choose the versions that are available to upgrade to from the actual version that you're on right now. So I'm going to choose that version, and then I'm going to choose an ASDM version as well. I could skip this if I don't use the ASDM. So you notice that I don't need to log into Cisco to get my version of code. I don't need to set up a TFTP server or an SCP server. CDO is going to handle all this for you. When I'm ready to go, I could say I want to copy the image file and do the upgrade. I could also just tell CDO to just copy the image file, and I'll come back later and do the rest of the upgrade. When I'm ready to go, I can click Perform Upgrade. There are several users that requested a feature to schedule these upgrades, so we provide that as well. So you can schedule for a time in the future, so you don't need to be awake during the next upgrade cycle. When you're ready to go, you just click Perform Upgrade, and CDO is going to handle all of the upgrade process. For this HA pair, it's even an added benefit because CDO will handle the standby failovers. So in this configuration, when the primary is done upgrading and the secondary is done upgrading, they'll be back into a perfect primary active state again with the secondaries in standby. And no packets will have dropped because CDO will handle the entire failover process for you. So a huge benefit, an enormous time saver. Customers are reporting back at least a 90% time saving in the time it takes to perform an upgrading using CDO as opposed to the conventional way that they've been doing it in the past. You can monitor the progress along the way if you want to, or you could just let CDO continue on, continue performing the upgrade, and then when it's done, this version of code will no longer be in the pick list. It'll be out of this filter, and Minneapolis will have been updated to the version of code that you had specified. So that's a huge time saver. Number two, objects. In CDO, we're able to manage objects for you not only per device, but across multiple devices at one time. So it really brings in the value of having CDO because you can now manage at scale. Not only do we bring this at scale functionality, but you can also use CDO to help you find issues or opportunities for optimization that exist inside your configuration. For example, we're able to show you where you have unused objects on your devices. Duplicates. Duplicates are objects that have been created over and over and over again with the same values, but different names. So for instance, I have this object called email on Tempe, but CDO is saying it's a duplicate. If we click on resolve, we're going to find all the duplicates that exist with it. So this is very typical. Someone has created an object called email, another one called exchange, another one called mail, and another one called mail IP cluster. So they all have the same value, 10.20.20.20. So in order to clean up your configuration and move forward with a little bit more sanity, is pick one to keep. So I want to keep my mail cluster IP. That's going to become my new object moving forward. Anywhere that email, exchange, or mail exists inside of this configuration, I'm going to replace it with mail cluster IP and rewrite all the rules and then remove those objects out of CDO. So clicking resolve will handle that for you. The real heavy hitter, though, in this area is our ability to look across your devices and find inconsistencies. So an inconsistent object is an object with the same name and some of the values that are the same, but they're not all the same across all your devices. So the classic example is the block list. So if I choose the block list, across all my devices, these are supposed to be identical. This could be a security problem if I'm allowing some IPs in some locations, even though I think I'm blocking everywhere across my enterprise. So an easy way to resolve this is just click our resolve button. This happens to have two distinct block lists with many shared pieces to them, but some inconsistent values. So 4 of my devices have this comprehensive list on the left, and then I have another 2 that have 2 inconsistent values and they're missing these values on the left. So what we can do is click resolve, and we're going to merge these 2 lists together and create one additive list that is going to be shared across these 6 devices. And what's cool about that is now I can just manage that object group as one entity across all these devices. So no longer do I need to log into each device to update, for instance, the block list. Here's one block list. I have one comprehensive list. It's being shared on these 6 devices. If I edit this list, now I just have one list I need to maintain. So as this comes up, I can remove items off of this list. And when I remove it one time, it will remove it off all the devices that are consuming this list. And then more importantly, when my information assurance team gives me a new IP address to make sure that I'm blocking, I only need to add that one time, save it, and now all 6 of these devices are queued up to get that change. Again, I'm showing you 6 devices in my demo, but it could be 66, it could be 7,000. We scale out, you can manage really as many devices as you need to inside of CDO. So that's some of the awesome value that we can bring with our object management, just for the day-to-day management, but also to help you optimize your current configuration on your devices. And of course, access list management is an important part of any firewall management platform, and CDO can do that too. So if I go to my network policy page, I can see all my access groups for my ASA. I'm going to choose the point of sale access group for Dayton. You can see this half moon in front of here. So not only are we going to display all the ACLs for this particular access group, but we're also able to show you places where you have shadowed policies. So starting with line 12, you can see there's a half moon in front of that. Line 12 is shadowed by line 11. Any packet that could be destined to line 12 will be absorbed and adjudicated on by line 11. So we're able to show you these places where you have shadowed rules and give you an easy way to edit these policies. Maybe you need to remove that rule. Maybe you need to move it around inside this configuration. But with CDO, you have all that capability and flexibility that you need. If you need to add a brand new rule, you can just go ahead and select line 7. I want to insert a rule in front of line 7. Click add. I have a new rule here. Permit any. I want to create a deny statement for IP from a new object space. So I'm going to block from my printer and scanner network. I don't want those going out to the internet. I put all those in 172.16.23.0/24. I can add that. So I built an object on the fly. I can also choose an object that already exists inside of CDO. So I'm going to replace the any with an object that I already have. So I don't want my printers going to my Apple network. So I can go ahead and select that and save it. And now this rule on Dayton is updated. That printer and scanner object group will be created, and then my Apple networks will be pulled from another device that I already have inside of CDO. So now that I'm done editing this, I've made some changes to my objects. I've made some changes to my ACLs. Now it's time to actually go push these policies out. If I go back to my device page, we'll see that I have several devices that are not synced. That means there's changes pending inside of CDO to be pushed out to those different devices. So to push out these changes, all I need to do is select the device, click preview and write, and CDO is going to diff between the config that's on the device right now and the one that is now inside of CDO. We understand what the differences are. We show you exactly what changes are going to be pushed down to that device. You can download this command set to have a local copy of what these changes are going to be as well. So you can see here that these are the changes that we're going to push to the device. And if you had to undo them, this is what the revert policy would be. When you're ready to go, you just click apply, and CDO is going to go ahead and push those changes out to that ASA. Once the changes have been written successfully, we'll tell you about it, and you can click OK, and now Dayton is back in sync. I could have done that in bulk as well. I could have chosen all my devices that had pending changes and pushed them out at one time. We have this great capability inside of CDO. We're able to track all the changes that you make to a device through our changelog. So I could go see that on January 21st at 1:38 p.m. a change was written successfully to Dayton. I can explode that and show exactly who the person was that wrote that change, as well as what the payload of that change was. So if the phones start ringing from Dayton and you need to check to see if somebody made a change on the firewall, you have one-stop shop here to go look and see if anybody made the change, who that person was, and what that change was. You can also do a diff and see exactly what was different between what was on the original configuration before, what's on the configuration now, and you can step through it and easily see what was in and what was out between the version of the configuration before and the version of the configuration now. If you need to revert the config, it's very, very simple as well. CDO keeps track of all the versions of the configurations that you have on your devices. We make it very easy to restore to a previous version. So I can go ahead and restore to a version from earlier this week. This was a version that I had that was my previous saved version. So no other changes have happened between the 18th and the 21st. So I'm going to restore to the version that was on the 18th. So I can click restore. And what's going to happen is this is going to bring the configuration in exactly the same place it was before I started making changes earlier in this demo. Now I can do a preview and write. And again, we're going to diff the configuration between what's on the device before, what's on the device now, and we can go ahead and push those changes out. We can apply the changes to the device, and when it's done, that Dayton device will be back in the same state it was just from a few minutes earlier. So that was a recovery that just took place. No packets were dropped during that recovery. It was a nice, as if I was sitting on the command line making my commands. So I wasn't copying or replacing the configuration or anything like that. So it's a very seamless recovery from my previous change. If I want to undo any of my pending changes inside of CDO, it's very easy. Just click read, and we'll read back the configuration from the devices and undo any pending changes that you have inside of CDO. So that's an easy way to kind of wipe out the pending changes and get back to a state of the device config equaling the configuration inside of CDO. So this sets us up for the last item I want to show you in this brief demo of CDO. That is our command line interface. So with CDO, you've seen we have lots of value with image upgrades, object management, policies. I haven't even shown you natting or VPN. But there's some things that you cannot do through a UI that customers want to be able to do. So we've given you this opportunity through the command line interface to run any command on the ASA that you can run from the command line. We want to be able to run in CDO. So something as basic as show run include SNMP. I'm going to send that command to this device. I'm going to get the response back as if I was sitting on the device. This is my SNMP server configuration. I can go ahead and paste that in here and change this. I'm going to change it to Global Center instead of Chicago. And I'm going to send that command to that device. So I'm updating in real time the SNMP server location and contact information on this device. We're only writing to the running config, but if you want to save it to the NVRAM, so it's in the startup config, just click write to disk, and that will write it to the disk. So that's changed. That's interesting, but what becomes really valuable here is that I can do the same thing across all my devices at scale. So same deal. I want to see what my configuration is across all my ASAs in my environment. So I'm going to do a show run, include SNMP, and it's going to run simultaneously against 8 devices. So we're going to send the command to 8 devices. We're going to wait for the responses to come back from 8 devices. So I sent the command and I received the responses. You can see that 6 of my devices came back with the same response. I have global Chicago for 6 of my devices. One of my devices has global center, and another device has global and then some other random stuff. So anywhere that the responses come back the same, we group them together and call them one response. What's awesome about this is now I could take a response, maybe that Miami device was my test device, and I'm going to update all my other devices now to match Miami. I can paste that in, and now I can send that command to all 8 of my devices at one time. You can see the response came back with done, so all 8 of my devices have been updated with that change. I can go ahead and write it to disk, and again, that will come back with a done response in a second here. And then to check my work, I could go back and do a show run include SNMP against these 8 devices. I'm going to go ahead and send that. And we can see the response now. 8 devices have been updated. So that's cool. It becomes an easy way to do things at scale, changing AAA server, keys, SNMP v3, adding a user, removing a user. We've built in these macro capabilities to make it very easy to use command line functionality without having to really understand the command line or remember all the syntax. We've even built in variables or parameters into our command line. So you as an administrator can build out a command line that you want your users to use with a value in it that needs to be inputted at the time of running. So for instance, this kicks off a user off of AnyConnect. In order to run it though, I need a username in here. So I can add Adam. Now it's a fully qualified payload. I could go ahead and send that to all 8 devices. And if I was logged into any one of those 8 devices, it would terminate my VPN session. I happen to not be logged into any of them at the moment, so it came back with I was logged off from 0 devices. So this has been a very brief overview of some of the capabilities in CDO. There's many more. There's a lot of other value that CDO can bring to your organization. If you want to know more, please contact your account manager, or you could also always go to getcdo.com, or you can email cdosales@cisco.com. Again, thank you for listening, and please reach out if you have any questions at all.